Hey guys, and welcome to episode 2 of the Drome Zone Podcast. This week my guest is Lee Chambers. He was also one of my film professors during film school. I recorded this literally right after the dentist interview. If you listen all the way to the end of the dentist interview, you actually hear Lee walk in. Lee was in Australia for a bit, prepping a movie, which is now actually finished shooting at this point. And I did not realize he was going to be up there, and he literally just walked in at the end of that dentist interview and sat down and gave me a whole half-hour interview here on the spot, spontaneous. I didn't have any questions or anything, so I kind of just played off of stuff I knew about him and stuff he was working on. I asked him a lot about his feature film he's working on, the Pineville Heist. All those links you can find in the description down below for the ebook and the paperback and the IMDb, stuff like that. And we talk a lot about that and how he's trying to get this movie made, as well as the movie that he's currently working on in Australia. Sorry for posting this so late. I've been quite busy, especially as of late, with a bunch of random video work that has randomly popped up. So there will be a lot of video work from my video production company, Panoramic Media, coming up pretty soon. So check back on that YouTube to see that video work. It should be out quite soon. But here is Lee's interview. Enjoy. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm just recording podcasts. Like, one of the best parts before I came to film school was watching the special features and finding out how to do this stuff. Mm-hmm. And obviously it's more accessible now with the internet, but I find that there's a lot of kind of, not necessarily trash, but kind of useless information out there. You don't see as much detailed and artists at work type of thing, like telling you how to do stuff. Like, it's a lot of just trying to sell you the newest movie kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to get like a more in-depth kind of experience to both behind like the movie business and the creative side of it, this and that. And so with me now is Lee Chambers. So Lee, you were my professor for the past 2 years, film school. You're working on a movie now, the Pineville Heist, as well as I believe you're working on another movie in Australia?
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm working on the Pineville Heist, but, all the students that I've had over the past, well, it's, what, 5 years? Although only really the last 2.5 years where I've actually been looking for money. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of my students, they have this, can I work on it? When are you shooting? When are you shooting? When are you shooting? Mm-hmm. And don't realize that it's, finding $1 million, $2, $3 million for a movie is a tremendous undertaking when you're trying to break into features. I mean, I've worked on them before, but I've never directed one or produced one. So it's a little bit of a challenge, and I kind of, when I look at, I guess today's generation, so a lot of the younger generations, there's this, we're used to instant stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Microwaves and instant text messaging, and when someone doesn't reply within 10 seconds, you wonder what's going wrong.
Yeah.
And so people think the same thing, I think, sometimes with funding of movies and putting movies together, and I've been comparing it to the movie Flight with Denzel Washington, which was up for Oscars and Best Picture, and Denzel was up for Best Actor, and it was 11 years. That's how long from the time the script was written and it was being pushed around Hollywood. It got rejected by everybody, and so Hollywood doesn't always know what is a good movie. It wasn't until Denzel came on board where he liked it that it developed further, and then suddenly money gets attached to it, and it's one of the Best Picture nominees. Yeah. So you kind of battle that. You're trying to push that around. So yeah, I'm off. I actually just back from Australia, and I head back again. I'm literally home in Thunder Bay for 10 days to complete my semester and then go back. I'm working on a movie called The Reckoning, which is a crime thriller, which is a little bit part found footage and then plus traditional filmmaking. It's kind of a unique concept. I met the filmmakers when I was in Australia about 2 years ago, just networking. And I kind of teach that to my students, that you never know who you're talking to, and you never know what kind of, you plant seeds, and you sort of meet people. I met them at a party, chatted a few more times, met up with them a couple more times, and they invited me to come over, so I'm an associate producer on that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I just spent the last 6 weeks over there working in pre-production. Associate producer doesn't really have a technical function. It's not like you're the camera operator and you have a specific job, or a gaffer or a boom op. So associate producer is kind of a term. I mean, I kind of fit in wherever. So for the first couple of weeks, I read the screenplay a number of times, did sort of initial breakdowns, made some suggestions on cutting down some cast, some not plot holes, but things that to me I noticed that the director might have didn't maybe notice right away, that made sense from a actual, now let's put it into filming, from off the page and put it onto filming, what made sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I worked with there was a new person who was on board as a location manager, and because I've done that before on a Miramax feature, I helped them with sourcing all the locations, which is kind of interesting because I don't, I've been to Perth, Australia before, but I don't know the area very well.
Yeah, for sure.
So I added a lot of kilometers on a car, ran around all over the place, finding lots and lots of locations, which pretty much most of them were kind of set up, and then the location manager had to just finish all the contract stuff up. So they're finishing that up, and then the shooting starts April 29th. So
that's awesome.
So I get a big turnaround. It's like I fly around the world twice.
Yeah.
To get back and forth, which is one hell of a trip.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. 5 weeks of shooting. And a lot of the stuff that I'm lucky the school let me go off for a period of time. A little bit of disruption in studies and sort of doubling up on classes and whatnot to try to get it done. I think what it helps with is, proves, well, the teachers here are working.
For sure.
And active in the film industry, and with current practices and protocols and all that kind of stuff. And it was very exciting for me over the last 6 weeks in Australia to realize that some of the things that I keep pushing on my students about, how handing stuff in and how to hand things and how to do certain things, which sometimes students fight you on. They I don't want to do this and grumble. Yeah. Is exactly how you have to do it in the industry. I'll give you an example. The line producer on the movie, I filled out the paperwork to get my fuel reimbursement, my petrol paid back, and she told me, it's got to be like this and you got to be like that, and she, you're doing this wrong, and she did it, and then if I didn't do it her way, I don't get paid. Which is, what I tell my students, when I ask, I'll give you a sample of what I need. I'll give you a sample of my of what I want you to hand in, and here's my deadline. And if you don't get it in and you don't follow the protocols, you don't get paid. In school, it's you don't get the marks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's good. So it'll be exciting as well to get on set.
Yeah, for sure. So me and Dennis talked a bit about the business and kind of where it was going type of thing. So now you're actively, of course, working in the business, trying to get the funding, like you mentioned. So is there like any type of pros and cons, any type of advice, I guess you would say, to anyone out there who is also trying to get like funding together? Yeah.
Over the last few years, again, that whole, a lot of students, they finish here and they're like, I want to go make a film. And so they go off and try to make a film with no money. And I was originally, it was like a $2-3 million movie for Pineville, and maybe it's $1 million, and I have to make my film on whatever budget I can get at whatever level I can get, and if it turns out to be $100,000, that's what I have to do it on to prove to people that I can do it. The problem with smaller budgets is that it's you don't have the cast attached to it, and making the movie is one half of the battle. The other half is actually getting it distributed, and unfortunately, it's a business, and people look at your cast and they look to see who you have attached, and if it's all just your friends, and they might be good actors, don't get me wrong, but if it's people who don't have any name value out there from a distributor point of view, it won't get distribution. And so you can prove yourself, and that might help you for the next one, but it's not going to make money. The long shots of Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity, it's almost like one every 10 years. Clerks, then Paranormal, or Blair Witch, then Paranormal. In the 10 years that go by between those huge hits are thousands and thousands of people who've racked up credit card bills trying to make their own film. And so it doesn't really make sense to do so. I've been, I tell people, go out and instead of killing yourself trying to make a film that probably won't get the distribution, is make a killer 5 to 10 minute short film. Make a feature film quality, production values, everything you can into a 5 or 10 minute film, and then push the hell out of that to prove what you can do, rather than trying to make a no budget film that might be brilliant every now and then, but has a lot of lackluster stuff because you don't have the money. So yeah, my advice is one of the most important things, of course, is the script. The blueprint is read lots of scripts, read about scripts, write lots of scripts, keep writing. If you're writing and directing, that's what you want to do. I mean, if you're a filmmaker and you don't want to be on the sort of the producing, writing, directing end of things, and you're just a crew member, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
There's one of our grads just came back this year who in 1 year has worked on 8 movies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In 1 year. Which is more movies, I've worked on TV shows, but I'm talking about feature films. He's worked on more feature films than I have. Wow. In 8 years, been busy. And so you're not trying to fundraise and all that kind of stuff. You just get a call, start work Monday, and you work for a month, and you move on, right? But, depends what you want to do in the business.
Yeah. Have you noticed with the digital kind of revelation of picking up kind of in the past few years where it's a lot easier for anyone to make a movie now? Has that really affected how you're going about budgeting and trying to get your movie made? Like, would you shoot your Pineville on digital or film? Or
it's funny, if you would have asked me that about 3 years ago, I'm saying, screw that, I don't want to shoot digital. I'm a filmmaker. I want to shoot on film.
Yeah.
And it really was that, that was my thing. I've slowly come around because I realized that the medium isn't as important as the idea, right? And when you turn out the lights and you put a movie on a screen, it's more important that they're engaged in the plot, they're empathetic towards the characters, they laugh, they're shocked, they cry, that I do that. I think 99% of the audiences don't go, I wonder if that was shot on the red. Yeah. They don't. We think of that as filmmakers. We're in that world. We think about how things are done, and they must have used this piece of gear to do that shot. But 99% of the audience don't think that way, and so I slowly got myself out of that. That it doesn't really matter. I mean, quality, yeah. But the cameras have come along dramatically. You can argue the point of the contrast isn't as good on this, and you can argue that until you're blue in the face. But most audiences don't really care.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed too a lot.
Who cares? And so you gotta kind of put yourself as an audience member and sort of divorce yourself. We're too close to the forest to see the trees sometimes, lost in the technology. When the technology is just a tool. It's like it would be like you saying, you wrote a novel and you used.
You can grab that. I can always cut this part out.
You wrote, no, sorry, I'll let it go. I'll get it later. We'll let it stop ringing and then I'll continue. Like you could say, now you wrote a novel in pen. Would you ever consider writing it in pencil? Does it really make a difference? Yeah. Like when you're reading it? No. Yeah, no. Not at all.
I forgot where we were.
Just about technology, right?
But,
but using digital cameras and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not a technical guy.
Have you ever looked into like online distribution at all, possibly?
Yeah. I mean, I get the Variety magazine and Playback magazine and read about all that all the time. The cinema experience is not a moneymaker. It's probably becoming a little bit more of a moneymaker now, because previously, when it was 35 mil, it would cost about $1,000, $800 to $1,000 for a print in each cinema to run. Now that it's we're digital projection, it's one file that it's downloaded now. That we've saved the cost of $1,000 print plus FedExing it around, and then you have to replace it when it gets worn out and scratched and everything. So it's the cost of prints has gone down. But people are consuming media in different ways. I mean, if I'm going to sit on a plane for 30 hours flying to Australia, I'll download season 2 of The Walking Dead and sit and watch the entire season on the plane because I have nothing else to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't watch that in the cinema while I'm on a plane, so I'm consuming the media when I can.
Mm-hmm.
And so, people are consuming in different ways. And I find that I've watched a movie in a cinema, and the cinema, I think, now is almost like a sales tool for everything else that people consume.
Yeah. That's what
movies traditionally make more money in all the other kind of distribution markets over cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why sometimes you see... And it's a financial decision. It's a financial decision when they make a movie and they decide to release it in 1,000 cinemas, 500 cinemas. Mm-hmm. The number of cinemas they pick is purely based on what actors do we have in, what was their last box office, how have they been doing in the box office. Okay, we'll put it in 700 cinemas. Mm-hmm. And it's like this, they have an abacus. I don't know. They sit there like little bean counters and try to guesstimate how this movie is going to do. Mm-hmm. And if they're not like a lot of A-list stars, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They'll realize we'll save money and not go cinema distribution, and we'll go digital. We'll go DVD, we'll go airlines, we'll go TV, we'll go Netflix, we'll go all those other...
Yeah, like, are you aware of, like, the House of Cards? And
totally. I watched all 12 episodes in the first weekend.
Yeah, like, I've read...
Which was amazing. It was a great series.
Yeah, I've seen a few of the episodes myself. They're awesome. But a lot of people were when that first came out, a lot of people were for it and against it. There was, like, a 50-50 on the internet where people were like, yeah, I want all my shows at once. Like, a lot of people... Like, my parents, for example, they're not big TV watchers. But they're watching Sons of Anarchy now in, like, bulks. Like, they're not watching anything else. They got the Netflix going, and they're watching season after season, right? Versus a lot of people were saying, no, that's not good because you'll lose talk of the show. Because shows would eventually get better over weeks coming because you have people watching it and recommending it to other people. Versus a show's kind of current status in the pop culture might die out faster because you're releasing the whole show at once. Therefore, people won't be talking about it over a matter of 10 weeks when it airs. They're only talking about it over maybe a month or so.
I think a smarter move would have been for them to release... the problem with regular, like, say, Showtime, HBO, mm-hmm. is you still have to tune in the time that they're watching it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the advantage of Netflix, because you can choose whenever. I think it would have been better for them to release an episode a week, mm-hmm. and then you can go back and watch whenever you want. Mm-hmm. But every week you go back, and so you know what I mean. So you have that longevity of a 12 episodes, 3-month campaign.
Yeah.
Still going on and whatnot. So I think they did it. I think they did it to be bold. Mm-hmm. I think they did it to make this huge.
Well, it hasn't made a huge impact yet. It's kind of House of Cards did really well, apparently, according to them. They just put out a new one.
I think it's gonna after I finished watching it, I sent out a tweet, and it was Kevin Spacey, and what's her name, the lead actress?
Oh, Robin
Wright, right? Yeah. Golden Globe nominations, Emmy nominations, guaranteed. I mean, I don't know whether they'll win or not, but I think they're going to get them. Mm-hmm. And so it's bold, and I don't know. It's bold in many ways, I think, for what they're trying to do, because HBO in its day, when it pre even Sopranos, when they started doing original broadcasting, mm-hmm. it was like dramatic, and they could do what they wanted because they're not bound by terrestrial television rules. And so Netflix is taking basically their playbook and reinventing it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And the thing is, we're looking. It's interesting being in Australia because they don't have Netflix there yet.
Oh, really?
And it's something that's coming online. And so, while we see Netflix here, and you're aware of sort of the North American model of what's going on, they still House of Cards can still be sold in other avenues.
Yeah.
Netflix can go and sell it to Sky Television and show it on TV mm-hmm. in England if they wanted to, mm-hmm. or Australia. And so that's the one thing is to think about. It's sometimes you sort of live in this world where being in Canada, or about it's more understand what's going on in Canada or North America as a whole.
For sure.
I understand there's 100 and couple hundred countries where things can be bought and sold in other countries that you may never see from. And so you never know what Netflix is doing around the world with House of Cards. I was just reading something about it, about how it's selling it in little pockets. I guarantee it'll show up on DVD and Blu-ray.
Yeah, probably.
Right? Because it's a lucrative market. So, it's exclusive right now to a certain format, but it's going to get sold. They're going to find a way how to chop it up into bits.
Yeah.
And they're doing a 2-year run, and I could see them extending it beyond 2 years as well.
Yeah. I've been reading stuff on, I'm not sure if you watch Game of Thrones.
I haven't watched any of it yet.
Game of Thrones, basically, they're one of the most pirated shows on TV right now. But the filmmakers have actually done interviews saying, or the people behind the show are saying, piracy is not affecting us. And they're not directly saying they're for piracy, but they're almost saying that it's helping them out in terms of getting the word out on the show as well.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? You don't want it to totally affect your bottom line. You could say, we get 1 million hits. Somebody downloaded our thing 1 million times. We didn't make any money on that. But there's times when people have told me about something. I watched this pirated, whatever, and then I go out and buy it. And so you're educating. I'll give you an analogy, which is really interesting, which is to do with publishing. And I know when I put out the Pineville Heist as a book, there was an option to encode anti-piracy software on the book, DRM, right? Digital rights management on the book, to stop people, so that if you downloaded it, whatever, you couldn't put it on another device and all that kind of stuff. And my first thought was, yeah, damn right, I'm going to do that, whatever. And then the more I read about it, the more I realized, well, it's not, if I go and buy a paperback, a physical, tangible copy in a store, I can hand you that copy. And there's no one stopping me from giving you that copy. I can pass it around wherever, and a book gets read by family and friends, whatever, and only buy one copy. Yeah. And so I realized that it's better to not have that on there. And there was a really famous author, and I can't remember his name. I totally forget who it was. Went to a book signing, and there was 50 people there, and he read some from a book, and he asked the question. He said, "How many people here have actually paid for a copy of one of my books?" And only a third of the hands went up. And he said, "So how did the rest of you get my book?" And I go, "Well, my wife read it, and so she gave it to me, or a friend of mine let me have my book." And he realized that that's what happens. That a piece of property can be passed around and shared around. But if he had digital rights management, there'd only be 12 people there. And there wouldn't be all these other people there who may be inclined to buy the next thing. Because they've read one for free from a friend. And then, I don't know, has that ever happened to you where someone's lent you a season 1 of something, and then you go and buy something?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I have dabbled in the Pirate Bay before, but I've also seen something and then gone out and bought it right away because of how much I actually like the movie as well. Yeah, and that's why I find, I was going to ask you too, if you have the time, I don't want to hold you up too much, but where do you think the business is essentially going? The internet distribution model, I'm not sure if you heard Vimeo is actually, if you have a pro account now, you can actually upload a full film and then charge people to watch it, whether they download it or just rent it, like a VOD type service on your own. So that kind of just started, and they're saying that's going to essentially be the way of the future. And I also wanted to kind of bring up at the same time product placement, because now when you go on YouTube, almost every YouTube video has a 15-second-ish ad that you either have to sit through or you can skip it. Yeah. But they're saying that the way to advertise to people, because they're not watching TV anymore, is that to put the products in the show. Yeah. And so has you thought about that yet for Pineville or anything like that, about in terms of incorporating products to help kind of get a budget in a sense?
Well, actually, I did some research on product placement and product placement companies, but it wasn't. Well, I mean, I didn't really do it necessarily for Pineville. I did it more for class and to understand it as a business thing. I mean, product placement has been in play forever. I mean, it's standard. It's standard stuff, right? But yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you're the budgets go down, and how much you can charge goes down, and so profits go thinner, and so people have to find a way to supplement that, to get the production budgets, but also to find a way to make it profitable on the other end. If there's too much piracy, then you're not making enough money. But yeah, product placement happens all the time.
Kind of where I'm going is would you ever kind of do people? It seems to be so far what they're saying is the way the future is going to be, that you kind of create your own content on your own, you distribute all your own stuff on your own, because the internet's getting so wide now. TVs are having internet built in with YouTube.
Well, I mean, I did that with my Pineville book, right? So I tried to go down the traditional route of a publisher and the whole deal, and got the lovely stack of rejection letters. I did get one that was interested, but said they would take 3 years before they'd have time to release it, which didn't work for me. And had the whole revolution of, when we talked about filmmaking, about, getting over shooting on film to digital. I had to get over the whole electronic book kind of thing with the book. But, I self-distribute. I also have a distributor who handles some paper copies in Canada and Australia.
That's awesome.
And, it's, when I get revenue checks from Amazon and Apple and all those different environments where there's no middleman. It's direct to me. I can monitor sales directly without worrying about a middleman.
That's awesome.
Doing anything. So yeah, film is I think the one thing, if we go back to the whole idea of technology being cheaper to make a film, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. The bad thing is that some people can go and make a film easier and cheaper, and that can be a bad thing if they're not creating good content, if they're not developing the screenplay, if they're not doing, what I mean. There's a lot of people make these films and they look bad, like really bad student films, and I can watch a bad student film, but not for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Then I can't. Nobody's going to pay for it. And so you still need to make good quality, one. So the other thing is, how do you get over the noise? And, it's like you walk into Times Square in New York and you look around and you see a smorgasbord of color and neon and flashing signs and advertising blitzing at you. There's nothing to focus on.
Yeah.
And so filmmakers can release your film on Vimeo, or I can release a book on Amazon or whatever. But there's a million other books out there and thousands being uploaded daily. How do people find you?
Yeah.
So then it becomes marketing. I mean, that's one of the things that I teach about the film business in Canada compared to America. Is Canada will, it's a big risk. Okay, we'll put $2 million, $3 million into your movie, and we'll spend $10 promoting it, and then they'll wonder, no one came to the movie. Well, because you spent $10 promoting it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Transformers is on every screen. How the hell can you compete with that when they're spending $40 billion promoting the damn thing? And so America will spend $40 million in a movie as an average. That's probably about 40 to 50 is an average Hollywood movie without the big effects and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then they'll spend another 40. They'll spend just as much to market and promote it. And
yeah, that's the insane part of it.
So you're looking, every week you go, what am I going to watch? And on your way to work, there was 2 bus ads with Transformers on it, and there was a bus display, and there was a, what I mean? And there's in the paper, and there's an article, and they've got publicists, and they've got ad campaigns, and then the morning television has
all the actors
on it, and so you're brainwashed into, I should go and watch the new Transformers. Now, if you went to the cinema and there was a Christian Montero movie with actors you never heard of before, and I don't know who the hell you are, I'm not even going to give you a chance.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who you are.
You have to have at least kind of a name.
There's something that's got to hook. There's something that's got to be done. And I'm not saying that Transformers is a good movie. Actually, I don't really even like the movies, but they
make bank.
They suck people in to go and watch it.
I think
you could have a better movie than them, but it still doesn't. It's.
Well, it seems like it's almost Like if you look at a lot of the movies coming out, it's almost all big budget movies, and then around Oscar time, it's like pretty much all low budget movies, give or take. Like you don't really see those $50 million movies anymore. It's more of like this weekend that new Tom Cruise movie came out, which probably easily costs over $100. 2 weeks from now, Iron Man comes out.
Which I saw it. It was in Australia.
You saw Oblivion?
Yeah, I saw it like about 2 weeks ago.
How was it?
Yeah, it's rubbish.
Rubbish? Oh,
I think it looks. I think it looks great, but it just was bland. And I really like the director. The director of it, and it's visual. It's a visual treat. It's beautiful to look at and everything, but I didn't care about the characters, and it was like, and they carried on too long, and Morgan Freeman probably got $1 million just for a day's work, and there's no character development in some of the other characters, and it's like, okay, why? But yeah, there's big budget, and the way the model is for financial reasons is a low budget movie, say $1 million and under, can. If done right, where you spend a little bit of money on somebody of some recognizable talent, where even if it's a television actor trying to make a jump into features, and you make a decent enough movie that's holds up on its own, it's maybe not brilliant, but it's a decent movie, it'll sell. You can sell that around the world, and so But the problem is over $1 million to about $8 million is difficult. They say that it's a low budget $1 million and under movie, or it's $8 to $10 million is the next level up, and then after that, and you're into the $40 and $50 million. Yeah. Because the $1 to $8 million is difficult, because you can go and say make a $5 million movie, put a couple movie stars in it, and make a decent movie, but you probably don't have enough to get really big effects and big scenes and all that kind of stuff, and so it takes a little longer to make its money back. When you're into the $8 to $10 million, and this is investors and people who've told me this, I've heard this a number of times. The 8 to 10, you can afford to hire an A-lister and give them $2 million, and hire another A-lister for a really good cameo and pay them $1 million, and then go and you're making the movie for 4 to 5, and you're buying bankable names for $3 million. Then there's been a number of them like that. What was the one that was really Killer Elite or something like that? I don't know. It's like there's like De Niro in it and Jason Statham, and it's a piece of shit. It okay, and I don't know. It'll make money.
Well, it seems the bigger the budget, the almost the stupider the movie. Like what you just said with the Oblivion.
Common denominator. You know what? It's a high concept movie that will appeal to the masses. We don't want anyone to have to think. Which is interesting. Because Inception was not a movie.
No, it was more of a thinking man's philosophy.
It was a smart movie. It did really well. But yeah, you're right. I'm harping on Transformers, but it's just
Transformers is nice to look at.
It's visually nice to look at, but it's just okay, whatever. I mean, just like action sequence, a little bit of talking, action sequence. I mean, that's like do I really care whether this guy dies? And after a while, I get tired with they try to outdo themselves with effects wise, and I lose a sense of empathy for the characters when they get blown across the room in an explosion, and they get thrown off the bike, and they get smashed into walls and through plate glass windows, and they're still walking around. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, really? Seriously? They'd be dead by now. I mean, who can withstand that much punishment? Yeah. I mean, I saw The Last Die Hard.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that really either.
I liked a lot of the other Die Hard movies, and I thought they were fun and well done, and this last one seemed like a paint by numbers. Let's go and blow $80 million in the movie, and because of the name value, we'll make our money back. The other issue I have right now is, and it's not like a new thing, it's been going on really forever, but it seems more apparent now, is it's like we just finished a Spider-Man series, and then they go and reboot it. We just finished a Superman thing, and then they go and it's again. They don't want to give a chance on a Pineville Heist, which you have to educate people on what Pineville Heist is.
Yeah.
But if I say there's Batman Reborn, and you're gonna, you know what Batman is. I just put the symbol up on I could put the symbol up on a poster, and put cool graphics, whatever.
Yeah.
You could probably just put a poster up and you'd go.
Yeah.
And so
it's like Tim Burton's poster is just the logo right on the front.
That's it. And you know, spend as minimal amount of money as possible, and you'd probably make a crap load of money, because one of the ones I heard, which is really funny, which is Hollywood will sit around and anything that has any kind of name value, they'll do. I mean, like all the Hasbro movies, Battleship, and all these. You know, they're taking any kind of game that people know about, Monopoly, I'm sure. What was the one I heard? It's funny, Jello, the movie. Like,
Jello.
You know, I mean, they would take Jello, the movie, and because everyone knows what Jello is, you don't have to educate people. Everyone knows, and probably almost around the world, people know what Jello is.
Well, they just put out the new G.I. Joe. I went and saw that. It was exactly like I'd say it's worse than Transformers. I didn't really enjoy it much. It looked okay, but then it ended up being like one of the highest grossing movies of the year so far. And so now they're going to probably make a number 3.
Of course they will.
Yeah.
Of course they will.
But one of my last questions, if you got the time, is kind of going back to the ideas. So since I know you've been talking to some names to get into the Pineville Heist, has there been any like people trying to get their hands in and change material based on those people you're trying to get?
No, not as such. I mean, we just have the kid Boo Boo Stewart, who's signed a letter of intent, and he's been really helpful in terms of book sales, as well, but also exposure and getting media. I mean, we got into the last 2 months we've been in one of the top teen magazines in Australia, awesome. And so it's getting some really good exposure from it. But and he's just got signed to the new X-Men movie, which is great,
I'm looking forward to that one.
Because right now, when I mentioned Twilight, guys don't care, but now the X-Men thing will be. Yeah. And now maybe guys might read my book because of X-Men.
Yeah.
But no, I mean I've done a lot of development on it. And the problem is everybody wants to get their little hands on and try to do stuff. And I've had people suggest changes, and some things I've assimilated into it because it does make it better, and there's other things I've fought on that I think kind of pull it away from what it really is. And so you have to kind of stand your ground a little bit. But then there comes this point where if someone came to you and said, look, Lee, here's $10 million. I need you to make a movie about you. I need you to make the lead a woman. Would I do it? Probably. Right? Because I still want to make my movie. And just changing the gender, would that really change the heart of the story? No. But if somebody said, I need you to make, I'll give you $10 million, but I need you to totally rewrite the movie and base it at a naval camp with kids selling muffins, and it's got to have 10 car crash scenes. It's like, well, that's not my movie anymore. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. I mean, why? You know what I mean? So not yet, but I mean, at the time, the other thing people ask is, well, who else would you have in your movie? I'm like, well, you don't know yet. I mean, until you have money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Once you have money. I mean, even in the film in Australia that I'm working on right now, they had their 2 leads, and they start April 29th, and only just this week they were casting the other characters. So it's 2. You don't even know the other actors in the film beyond the leads until like 2 weeks before. Until everything's locked in, and everything is moving forward for sure. There's no point in casting anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you very much. That was kind of spontaneous on the spot.
Oh, there you go. You bet.
Yeah, but thank you very much, and thanks.
Cheers.